A judge has overturned California's right to die law. Yesterday, a judge threw out the 2016 law allowing terminally ill patients the right to end their lives. The judge said lawmakers acted illegally because they passed the law in a special session. The state now has 5 days to appeal. Joining me today to talk about this is Dan Diaz, the husband of Brittany Menard, who inspired this law when she moved to Oregon to end her life after a brain cancer diagnosis. It's so hard to talk about death for so many of us, especially in your situation. So first, let me thank you for coming in, because I know this is a passion for you, but it is hard for many people. First, the discussion we had before we went on the air, you expect the state to appeal.
Yes, my hope is that Attorney General Becerra's office, they've already stated that they will be appealing, and specifically, though, that they put a stay on this most recent ruling so that the law can remain in effect, so that terminally ill individuals can access this piece of legislation that for 2 years now has been in the books and been working fine. And while all the legal wranglings continue, that patients have this option at end of life.
You vowed to support the law to help other Californians. So beyond the legal maneuverings, what is your next step?
So the promise that I made to Brittany is that I would work on this legislation so that no terminally ill individual would ever have to leave their home like we did after being told you have 6 months to live. And that's the promise that I intend to keep. My focus now, part of it will shift back to California. I've been to 12 different state houses since Brittany died. When Brittany died, Oregon, Washington, Vermont, and Montana were the 4 states that allowed a terminally ill individual to have this option. Since Brittany died just 3 years ago, we've now passed this in California, Colorado, DC, and just a month ago in Hawaii. So my efforts continue, and working on this in states across the country.
Still, only a handful of states have decided to go for this legislation to allow people the right to die. Why do you think that's the case?
It's somewhat frustrating because nationwide, 70% of the population agrees with Brittany that a terminally ill individual should have this option. Here in California, that number is 76%. So it basically boils down to it's been the status quo, but then also part of that is the opposition, which is a minority, they're clearly in the minority, has been influenced a lot by religious beliefs. And I'm Catholic, so while the church, the leadership of the church might have their position of being opposed to medical aid in dying, support amongst Catholics for this practice, the congregants, the people that go to church, support there is also 70%.
Right.
So it is just a matter of time, I think, for legislators to accurately represent their constituents.
All right. Your position would be that the right to die is an extension of health care. Opponents would say the potential for abuse is too great. How do you answer them?
At this point, between Oregon, which has had the law for 20 years, between Oregon, Vermont, Washington, and now California, we just published our first annual report, we have 40 years of data, which would absolutely refute all of the false narratives that the opponents like to throw out there. And they talk about abuse and coercion and slippery slope. And after 40 years worth of data, and 20 years specifically out of Oregon, not a single case of that. So it is unfortunate that they'll go to those tactics. Their campaign is based on fear, whereas Brittany and what she was enduring at end of life, that's the reality of what a terminally ill individual is facing. And there's no reason that they should suffer needlessly.
Dan, really appreciate your taking the time to come in and getting a chance to talk with you. And this is certainly a subject we'll be following as the court proceedings continue. Thanks so much.
Thank you.